The Booker Prize has just announced their long list for this year. I don't know what it is yet. Nell is behind the camera, so if you just turn your screens around, you can see her. She has the long list, and she's going to read it out to me one book at a time. I'm going to react to it. I'm going to go away and come back and tell you just a little bit about these books.
The House of Doors.
I like that one. That is not a surprise.
Beasting, Paul Murray.
An Irish one. I don't know a lot about that one.
In Ascension by Martin Mckinnis.
Some science fiction.
Pearl by Sean Hughes.
I know nothing about this one. I'm Sean Hughes. I don't even know that author, but is that another Irish one?
This Other by Unreadable.
This Other, but we don't know the author
I
because...
think it's Paul, but it could be Paul. I think it's Paul Herring.
The Other Eden by Paul Harding.
Yes, that's what it is.
Oh.
This Other Eden. And Eden.
Boo
for accessibility.
I hated that book. I hated that book a lot.
That's good, because I have feelings about the cover. Prophet Song by Paul Lynch.
Paul Lynch. Wow. Don't know. I do. Surely I know. Does it just ring a bell because it's a really common name?
Ayobami Adebayo has...
Yeah, A Spell of Good Things.
Spell of Good...
Yeah, it's nice to see Ayobami Adebayo on the list.
Study for Obedience by Sarah Bernstein.
Yeah, okay. It's another Irish one, is it? This is like the year where the Irish authors make up for all those years they've been underrepresented. I know, is Sarah Bernstein Irish?
I don't know.
No, she's Canadian.
If I Survive You by Jonathan Ekoffrey.
I didn't like that one.
Western Lane
by I just finished reading this one by Chatra. I literally read this one yesterday. It's about squash.
Chetna Harder.
About a Pakistani family playing squash.
Elaine Feeney's book, How to Build a Boat.
It's nice to have an instruction manual on the long list.
Old God's Time by Sebastian Barry.
Yep. More Irish.
Lots of Irish.
So I think this long list is half Irish at the moment. I'm not hating that.
All the Little Bird's Heart. Is it?
That's it. Well, there's no In Ascension. There's no Rushdie.
In Ascension.
There's no In Memoriam. There's no Rushdie. There's no Barbara Kingsolver. There's no Wandering Souls missed out. There's a lot of big name books. There's no Burnham Wood. There's no Zadie Smith. It's a lot of Irish books, and that's a nice place to be. I don't think there's an Aussie one on there. That's not a nice place to be. Let's have a look, and I'll have some more coherent thoughts in the rest of this video. Let's discuss these books. I've got the information for you, but first, I just want to apologize for anybody who watched my prediction video. I scored none. I feel like that sums up the surprise of this year's Booker long list. How to Build a Boat by Elaine Feeney. The first thing I noticed about this is all the praise from big name authors. Douglas Stewart, Ronan Hesson, Louise Kennedy. Elaine Feeney was a slam poet, which I think might be my favourite form of poetry. I'm definitely expecting that emotional kick you get from slam poetry in her novel. It's an Irish novel about a young boy with themes of grief fitting in, love and loss. This sounds like the emotional heavy hitter on the long list. And I'm personally horrified that I haven't heard of this novel before because it sounds like my sort of book. The Beasting by Paul Murray, 650 pages or 26 hours if you're going to audiobook. This is a chunker. This book is about a family who were previously doing well, but who go off the rails a bit. They start preparing for some sort of doomsday event, selling all their valuables. They start binge drinking, and the youngest child wants to run away from home. It sounds like a dark comedy about a world that is falling apart and a family that is responding to that while everybody else thinks everything is normal. It could be Kafkaesque, it could be socially critical, or it could just be very funny. I am concerned by the length of this one, but I am excited by the prospect of this novel. Old God's Time by Sebastian Barry. I've never read Sebastian Barry, and that's a shame, but I am very excited to try him. He has this reputation for writing these very well thought out mystery novels, and I love it when genre fiction gets the literary fiction treatment. This is about a retired cop who moves into a very isolated life, but after living in isolation for months, some former colleagues has some questions for him about a case he worked on 10 years ago. In Ascension by by Martin Mckinnis. A lot of people were predicting this book, and it's nice to see some speculative fiction on the list. At just over 500 pages, this is another long book. A scientist is looking at the earliest forms of life, but they discover something unexpected, and it's a novel that is treating the underwater world like science fiction novels treat space. To be honest, that doesn't really grab me, and after The Woman's Prize, well, I've just been traumatized enough by underwater novels. The number of positive reviews this book is getting makes me think that Mckinnis has done something really cool here, and it's often those books that don't sound like something that you would enjoy, but that everybody is raving about. They're the novels that tend to be something special, so this one's exciting. House of Doors by Tan Tueng En. I have read this one, and I'm not surprised to see it on the shortlist. Really happy with this one. It is a quality book. Eng's craft is just amazing. William Somerset Maugham visits a friend of his in Penang, and his wife, who hates homosexuals, tells Maud a story about one of her friends who was accused of murder about a decade ago. In this story, we explore the power wives had in relationships at the time. We also explore racism, Chinese politics, colonialism, and feminism. It is a very complex and well executed novel. The Other Eden by Paul Harding. I've already tried this one and I've DNF'd it. I won't be returning to it. I am not really sure what this book was doing on the list. It wasn't researched, the characterization was poor, and the author was telling instead of showing far too often. A Spell of Good Things, Ayobami Adebayo. I am always delighted to see Nigerian literature get any sort of praise, and especially praise on something like the Booker Prize. I've read this one. It's a good book, although I think it would have been more successful if it was 2 books instead of 1, but that's not a particularly negative thing to say about a book, so don't be put off by that comment. It's the story of a rich woman who is about to get married and a poor boy who is struggling with school. There are themes of domestic violence, control of women, poverty, political corruption, begging, and the choices the youth have. I feel like Nigerians say there are these problems with our society, and Westerners say, wow, that sounds bad. We don't have anything like that here. And Nigerians are all like raising their eyebrows and tapping their feet. And this is Ayobami Adebayo raising her eyebrows and tapping her feet and telling you about Nigerian culture. And I love it. If I Survive You by Jonathan Escoffery. This is a controversial novel because it's been marketed as a short story collection. Now, I've read it. I don't have a problem with this novel getting nominated. I actually think I disagree with the marketing. I would call it an episodic novel or an interconnected short stories or something similar. But these sort of calls question exactly what is a novel and what is eligible. This is a book about a US Jamaican man who is the victim of racism, financial ruin, and a series of bad luck. It also looks at family, class, and assumptions. It is socially critical, but I just don't think it worked. I think it was at times ridiculous, and obviously the Booker judges disagree with me on that, but that's my opinion. Study for Obedience by Sarah Bernstein. Now, I said that she was Irish, and then I said she was Canadian, and I wasn't quite sure. She is Canadian cum Scottish, so I was basically wrong. This is a book that has been marketed as readers of Shirley Jackson and Claire Louise Bennett, which is a weird thing to say because they're completely different authors in my book. This is about a woman who becomes her brother's housekeeper after his wife dies, which, can I just say, is icky. Men who rely on the free labour of women in their lives are problematic. Once she arrives, a bunch of weird stuff happens. Animals start dying and that sort of thing, and it kind of sounds like she's accused of being a witch. Western Lane by Chetna Maru. This is literally the most recent novel I have finished. It's the story of a Pakistani-British family who play squash at Western Lane, hence the title of the book, and at the beginning of the book they lose their mother. This is quite a sad book, and I would say it's not dissimilar to Claire Keegan in that it is short, it is simple, and it is beautiful. The language is simpler than Keegan, but it has that same simple but powerful emotional journey. It's modern and about squash, but really the themes are family, love, grief, and support. I think this one will be a really popular book. Pearl by Sian Hughes. Can I just firstly say Sian Hughes is not Irish, like I said. Only 4 Irish books made the long list, and to think that none of them were Juno Loves Legs, Carla, Soldier Sailor, or Close to Home. The mother of an 8-year-old goes missing, and the 8-year-old must look after her grieving father and and her baby brother. And at just 8, she tries to cling to the memory of her mother's love. This sounds very much like a book about both grief and healing. I very much can't wait to read this one. Prophet Song by Paul Lynch. We need to have at least one book on this long list that hasn't been released yet. This is my least favourite thing about the Booker. This should never have been on this year's Booker. This should be on next year's Booker. But whinge over, we only need to wait to the 24th of August for this novel to be released. It's a speculative novel, a dystopian about an Irish mother of 4, a scientist who finds the newly formed Irish secret police on her front door. They're there to interrogate her husband, a trade unionist. This looks like it is critical of the current trend of governments becoming increasingly authoritarian and what lengths they will go to stay in control of the people. Sounds like a great book, to be honest, and something that I'm really looking forward to reading. All the Little Bird Hearts, Victoria Lloyd Barlow. This is a book about autism and Sunday, who lives by certain rules. There are quiet days where she can only eat white food. Then new neighbours move in next door and they break just about every rule of social etiquette in the book. Sunday actually has a book of social etiquette. Sunday has a 16-year-old daughter called Dolly who wants to leave home. And then things take a bit of a dark twist. This sounds like something that's really worthwhile reading, but it also sounds like it could be a bit uncomfortable. Really looking forward to this one. So that's it. I've read 5 out of these 13 books. Definitely some very good books on this long list, but also some books that I don't like very much as well. That's pretty standard with any long list. There is always going to be something amazing and something terrible on any long list. No big names at all, really, but there are some really interesting sounding books on this long list and some authors I know absolutely nothing about, which always excites me. So I guess the proof of this will be in the reading, but at the moment, I'd say that I'm cautiously and optimistically excited about the Booker Prize. I will read the whole long list and give you a proper in-depth review of each book, just depending on how soon I can get all the titles and get them all read. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that, and let me know in the comments section, do you agree with my assessment, cautiously and optimistically excited, or do you think something else? What do you think about all these big name authors missing out? Was that intentional just to create a bit of stir to ruffle some feathers? If so, I'm really here for it. Shady Booker judges. Let me know all your thoughts. Don't forget to like this video. Bye bye.